morning or good afternoon, depending on your meal habits. I'm Benedetto Lepori. I'm the chair of the RISIS Research Seminar series, and I'm happy to welcome you to this 42nd research seminar. So we have now a long history. Our presenter will be Chiara Alberti from University of Bergamo, and she will talk about a very actual topic, which is sustainability ranking and sustainability performance. And I will act as a discussant. I would like to thank Rita Giuffredi from CNR and Georg Zaratnik from Austrian Institute of Technology for organizing this meeting. I would like to remind you the rules of the game. First, Chiara will present her paper in about half an hour, 35 minutes. Then I will provide some discussion points and give back the word to Chiara, and then we will have a general discussion. Rules of behavior are the usual one. Please mute your micro, but we like if you can keep your camera open. It's much better for the presenter, of course. See smiling and attentive faces rather than just names. You can ask questions at the end, but you can post also questions on your on the chat immediately so that we keep track of them. With all that said, I would like to give the word to Chiara.
Perfect, thank you. I will share immediately my screen. Okay.
Okay,
so
perfect.
Good morning and welcome everyone. I'm Chiara Alberti. I'm a PhD student of the University of Bergamo, and my research area regards the higher education sector. And in particular, I research about the contribution of a university to sustainable development. In particular, today I will present my research. The aim of this research is to assess the relationship between university sustainability rankings and sustainability performance of universities. But let's get with order. I start with a brief introduction and a literature review of the topic that permit me to introduce a goal, contribution, and hypothesis. I pass then to the methodology, to the presentation of the result, and lastly to conclusion, limitation, and possibility for future research. So, sustainable development is a key challenge nowadays, and in particular, the higher education sector has the potential to be an agent to facilitate social change and advance sustainable development practice. In particular, universities have increasingly integrated sustainable development principle, and there are 5 main areas regarding universities, which are the education area, the research area, the third mission, campus operation, and evaluation and reporting. And universities can introduce sustainability in all these areas. In particular, in our research, we consider the first 3 areas, so education, research, and third mission. In particular, we try to consider what can be sustainability performance. And starting from the education, education is fundamental because the knowledge of sustainability is essential for the transition. And in this sense, universities offer sustainability-related courses. Then, for the research area, university research is a generator of new knowledge, and this knowledge is crucial for contributing to economic growth, social well-being, and addressing all societal challenges. In this sense, university researchers write and publish sustainability-related papers. Lastly, for the outreach or the so-called third mission, this mission is fundamental because it connects universities with stakeholders outside academia, and it focuses on knowledge creation. So the third mission represents a crucial channel in the sustainability transition. And in this sense, universities develop the startups in the, intellectual property rights and patents. In particular, one of the main problems regards the performance measurement. Performance measurements are necessary to respond to external stakeholders, but also to evaluate organization. In particular, the performance measurement became fundamental in academia after the process of the new public management. And measuring sustainability became even more difficult because there are no shared metrics for universities. We found in literature three main approaches to measuring performance, which are the account approach, the narrative assessment, and indicator-based. Among these approaches, a fundamental part is, we found a fundamental part in rankings. Rankings became very popular, and they are able to convert qualities into common metrics to simplify and enable comparability between institutions. At the same time, rankings born as a response to stakeholders, such as students, their parents, but also policymakers and funding agencies. In particular, we saw that rankings are pervasive in the higher education sector, despite their criticism. And rankings are so pervasive because they simplify complexity and allow the evaluation of universities. At the same time, we saw that education has been recognized as a crucial element in addressing sustainable development. And given the societal push towards sustainability in recent years, stakeholders demand evidence of university contribution. So, the ongoing debate on rankings in the higher education sector has recently been affected by the introduction of these sustainability rankings. Briefly, there are three main sustainability rankings, which are the Times Higher Education Impact, the QS World Sustainability Ranking, and the Green Metric. We use a Green Metric for our analysis due to the longer period of observations and the consistent and increasing numbers of participants of Italian universities. In particular, Green Metric ranking is established by the University of Indonesia, and universities are ranked according to information in a questionnaire that is self-filling by university themselves. So now we try to found a link between rankings and performance. In particular, rankings aim to mitigate information asymmetry and aim to signal the university quality. So they are expected to signal improvement in quality and performance of universities. At the same time, there are a lot of doubts on the efficacy of the information provided and their capacity to accurately assess outcomes. For this reason, rankings face significant criticism for their validity and reliability. However, despite their problem and critics, the impact of rankings grows over time because they increasingly influence organizations and institutions. In particular, we found two types of influence. The first is the reactivity. Reactivity is defined as a change behavior in relation to being measured and evaluated. And typically, institutions try to alter their behavior in the direction of criteria set by these rankings. At the same time, we have a more general impact because rankings may not be just a representation of something that is already done, but they may impact the future outcomes. And in this sense, sustainability rankings may be an incentive to improve the general sustainability performance of the organizations. In particular, these allow us to present our goal and the hypothesis of the research. So our goal is to empirically assess the nature of the relationship between sustainability ranking metrics and university sustainability performance. To do this, we introduce two main hypotheses that mirror the causality direction between sustainability performance and sustainability ranking. The first hypothesis is the causal direction from performance to rankings. So we hypothesize that rankings can signal the performance improvement of universities. On the other end, we have the other causality direction from ranking to performance. So we think that rankings cause an impact on university sustainability performance. And we decide to divide these hypotheses in two sub-hypotheses. So the first regards the reactivity. So a change in ranking position leads to a change in sustainability performance specifically included in the ranking measures. And the second, that a change in ranking position leads to a change in sustainability performance, which is not included in the ranking measures. We decided to focus our research on this topic because despite their criticism and new proposals for evaluating universities, ranking are and will remain pervasive in the higher education sector, posing the importance of studying both their validity and their impact. At the same time, the topic of sustainability has recently gained significant attention, and universities are expected to make contribution to this area. Also, despite the importance, we found also the novelty of this topic because the research focusing on sustainability rankings and their impact is limited, despite the huge literature about traditional rankings. At the same time, despite the importance of sustainability, the empirical literature and data regarding sustainability performance are limited as well. So now this concludes the presentation of the literature and our goal and hypothesis. Now I start with the research design and then to present the result. First, we collect data about Italian universities during the period between 2010 and 2023. In particular, we collect data about this sustainability performance, which are the number of sustainability courses, the number of sustainability publications, the number of citation of these publications, the number of sustainability spin-offs, the number of green patents, and lastly, the green metric ranking position. In particular, the number of courses, number of publication, and number of spin-offs are included also in the questionnaire that the green metric required from university to be ranked. So we use these variables to test our hypothesis of reactivity, and we use mainly the other variable to test the hypothesis of the proper impact, as we will see in the next slide. Briefly, regarding the methodology, we use the Granger causality test. This test allows us to find the causality direction. In particular, in the first test, we use the sustainability performance as dependent variable and the ranking as independent. And to test the other causal relationship the other way around. So the ranking position as dependent variable and sustainability performance as independent variable. So we use the two different regressions, and we employ the fixed effect to account for the variability of different universities. In addition, we use also some control variables to better isolate the impact of the independent variable. So we use the student-to-faculty ratio to account for the size of the university, the STEM faculty ratio, because usually the more the STEM faculty, the more the propensity to sustainability of universities, the tuition fees, and the inclusion in a traditional ranking as the THE for the institutions. Okay, now we can pass to the results. Firstly, so we test the first hypothesis, which is that rankings can signal the performance improvement of universities. In particular, we show that green metric is sensitive to a change in the number of courses, in the number of publications, and in the number of patents. So, considering that the number of courses and the number of publications are required to be ranked, this permits us to say that rankings can signal an improvement in this performance. Now we present the result of the second hypothesis, which in our mind is the most interesting one. And in this hypothesis, we think that rankings cause an impact on university sustainability performance. And in particular, we demonstrate that rankings has an overall positive effect on the number of courses and the number of publications. So we can see this positive effect. And considering that courses and publication are in the ranking questionnaire, this proves the reactivity of universities that try to boost the score, trying to improve this performance. At the same time, and more interesting, we saw that the number of citations and the number of patents has a negative impact. So the ranking has a negative impact on the number of citations and the number of patents, which are not included in the questionnaire of the ranking. So this is an empirical evidence of the reactive behavior of Italian universities, despite the skepticism towards rankings. In particular, universities seek to align themselves with top-ranked institutions, but in trying to align themselves with this top-ranked institution, neglect the indicators which are not included in the ranking questionnaire. So universities do not merely subject themselves to an external evaluation, but they interpret and manipulate rankings in trying to boost their score and their position. We think that our research holds a valuable contribution for policymakers, university managers, and the extant literature. Policymakers, because they frequently use university rankings as a proxy of their performance to supply a lack of information. And considering that governments are key stakeholders for universities, rankings can significantly influence funding allocation and grant distribution. However, this research confirms empirically that if stakeholders and policymakers use ranking as basis for their choices, may incur in suboptimal decisions. At the same time, university managers usually consider rankings as a form of feedback or an external source of pressures. So their decision may be driven by the pursuit of change based on these rankings. And our result can be valuable in showing managers the consequence of being included in a ranking such as green metric, but provide also a general overview of how rankings may work. Lastly, we think also that the research holds a valuable contribution to the extant literature, because for the best of our knowledge, this is the first empirical observation of the causal relationships between the sustainability ranking and the sustainability performance within universities. So we recommend checking and eventually including this double relationship in future studies. And lastly, we hope also to trigger a discussion about sustainability performance and their assessment, and try to pose the attention to the possibility of introducing some shared sustainability performance for all universities. Lastly, our research has also some limitations. For example, we use online retrieved data to ensure validity and verifiability, but these may omit some important features and characteristics of some institutions. we focus on indicator-based measures, despite the existence also of accounts and narrative assessment methods. We use the green metric ranking mainly because it has the longest period of observation, but different indicators may demonstrate different effectiveness, and our is a single country study. So for future research, we think to expand maybe the multi-country perspective, and we think also to focus separately on different sustainability pillars, because here we think about general sustainability, despite the existence of the environmental, social, and economic pillars. And also, we may focus separately on different university missions, because here we focus both on the first, second, and third mission. So, thank you for your attention, and I hope you found this research interesting, and I wait for your doubts and questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chiara. Could you just stop sharing the screen for the moment?
Yes.
So, okay. It's my turn to provide some feedback, hopefully as useful as your very clear paper. Just to say that paper is dealing with an important topic. There is a lot of literature on rankings, behavior of university in responses to rankings. Sustainability rankings is something new. And we have relatively little literature. When preparing this seminar, I looked at the literature, and it's mostly a very specialized literature on sustainability. This topic has yet to be taken over systematically in higher education. My interpretation of the paper is that it deals with two topics. Both topics are important. One is what is reflected, what rankings are measuring, and some of us worked extensively on research rankings on that topic, and whether their information is meaningful at all or not. So whether ranking differences reflect real differences in sustainability performance. And that's one. And to the other one is to which extent rankings have an effect on universities. So whether we have evidence that universities adapt their sustainability activities strategy to improve their position in rankings. I'm not sure both the two can coexist in the same paper, because my feeling is these are two different topics or problems. Also because I'm not sure, I will detail later, that the same methods are fine for both. Something in general I'm missing, and this will be important for the discussion, especially of the second problem, is more elaboration on a theoretical framework. So there is a lot of literature on responses to rankings. There are parallel literature, for example, on corporate social responsibility, and these might propose different behavioral mechanisms. Isomorphism is just one of them. We know that organizations tend to act strategically, that as soon as you get rankings, you might try to manipulate rankings rather than to change your behavior, or to optimize the tension between behavior and ranking, changing things that cost less. And so I think it would be important to have some framework, especially for the second problem, so the response of organizations. Also because this would help discussing unintended effects, and also, again, the general literature on rankings full of discussion on unintended effects of rankings. Like, for example, salami publishing, etc. So you might ask yourself whether sustainability ranking lead to the same effects. If you count the number of sustainability courses, institutions might just offer shorter courses to let their ranking position increase, for example. Okay, that's for introducing. Then I have some concern in terms of methods. I would wish a clear definition of your metrics of sustainability performance and not just an indication of sources. And a discussion on possible methodological problems. You hinted that publication numbers might be difficult depending on the source. So this would be essential to understand your measure. On the green metric ranking, I would like to get more detailed information. Also, what is known about how the ranking measure is constructed, which is a big problem for traditional rankings. And it would be helpful to analyze the different dimensions and the statistical relationships with things like principal component analysis. And of course, to compare with other rankings, because the justification you gave, there are many Italian universities in this ranking, so we have a good case, seems to me a bit a weak justification. Think of, for example, of the problem of the impact of rankings on behavior. Do you have evidence that this is the most influential ranking? Because if institutions look to other green rankings rather than what you choose, you might get strange results. Okay, then on the two main directions, so sustainability indicators to ranking measure first. I really wonder why you are using Granger causality, because you are comparing one set of measures of sustainability performance with another set of measures. So the measures you construct by counting courses publications and the measures constructed by the green sustainability ranking. So my simple question, why you don't simply perform a cross-sectional analysis, looking to the correlations or to how much of the variance in the ranking position is explained by different characteristics, including controls, by the way, because research ranking are size dependent. Is the green matrix ranking size dependent as well? Also because in a way ranking performance is not really a time series in that sense. It's a set of measures over time. So I wonder why you really use this complicated Granger causality framework. Because in my measure, this is a simultaneous. You are just checking what is measured in the two frameworks. On the second one, so ranking to sustainability performance, of course, the problem of causality is more relevant. One obvious warnings is that in your presentation, there is a shift. So Granger causality is just a statistical assertion that you can predict the evolution of time series based on the evolution of another time series. It has no claim of causality in the ordinary sense, and then you tend to shift in your presentation to say, I'm proving something more. And this brings me back to the need of a theoretical framework, because it's very difficult with all this kind of endogeneity between measures over time to prove anything about real causality without some theory, some mechanism at place. One problem we know of Granger causality is that it's highly sensitive to the presence of external factors impacting both time series. So, for example, did you test about the overall budget of the university? Because this might impact your sustainability performance data and your ranking measures. And in a way, I don't exactly understand the interplay between individual variables and aggregated sustainability measures. So why you need to integrate into regression model aggregated sustainability performance as when your dependent is sustainability performance or courses, and you have that information as well. So I'm not very clear on that, so I would need more information. And also, I wanted to ask how you interpret in some cases the lagged variables are significant with opposite signs depending on the time of variables, which is a bit strange to me, but I'm not a specialist of this kind of model, so I would need just more explanation. And the obvious questions many in the audience will have is what about mixed methods? So combining some quantitative evidence with some more qualitative evidence, maybe based on interview on what is happening out there. Okay, it's not the goal that you answer to all these points, but some you might, in particular on the interpretation of the results, I think it's useful if you could give more information. But up to you what you want to answer and you want to keep, and what you think is totally irrelevant observations. Thank you.
Okay, first, thank you a lot for your feedbacks. I think that all of them are very useful. I started with the first one. I try to take notes. The first one is about the two different topics for the two different causality directions. I start from this because we also thought about dividing these two topics into. We found interesting the idea of these causality directions. Obviously, we are aware that the second part is more interesting and is more appropriate. Also, for example, if we find the framework, as you suggested, it could be better. Okay. We use the grandeur causality test because we thought that this would be appropriate for these kind of data and the kind of hypothesis that we choose. But obviously, maybe after this presentation, we thought about to introduce different models or more simply regression. The idea was that the variables, the sustainability performance have an impact on the ranking, but in a causal way. And we think that this model would be appropriate. For the control variables, for example, regarding the budget that you suggested, we use the tuition fees that I know that is not the same, but maybe it could be a proxy of the budget of universities. And I don't know what other what to add. The other feedbacks are very, very useful. For example, I will provide maybe a clear definition of sustainability performance. If this helps in improve my research and also to improve the readability and the understanding of the research. Because sometimes when working on a topic, it seems everything clear, but it is not for the other people reading and listening for the research. So thank you. I don't know if there are other questions.
Thank you. I would like to open the floor for questions and comments. There is a request to share paper and presentation. This would be probably useful with the audience. Can I open the floor? I see people who are very expert on rankings, people who are expert on sustainability. So for sure you have something to comment or to ask. I see
Okay,
Kat.
maybe
Yeah.
I will share the presentation in the comments. I don't know if,
Yes.
okay.
I see Catherine Ostertag.
Yes, hello everybody. Thank you very much for this very knowledgeable presentation and also the comment of yours. Catherine Ostertag from Fraunhofer ISI in Germany. And I have two questions or maybe suggestions to you, Chiara, for with regard to possible data sources when you want to continue research in this direction. The first is more a question. You said you used as one data source green patents, and I was wondering, how did you assign the patents to the universities? Did you use the applicants? Did the universities have to be the applicants for the patent? Or did you look at the inventors if they came from a university? That would be maybe nice to clarify. And if you use the applicants, then as a further route of research, you might want to delve into inventors, because if the university doesn't have an economic interest to be an applicant, because that's costly, then maybe you understate the number of green patents that you could attribute to the university. Maybe a suggestion. And the other data source that you used was publications, and you explained how you identified sustainability relevant publications. Now, if you want to go further there and differentiate different sustainability pillars, as you indicated, then maybe this tool Text to SDG, I'll just post the link later on, might be helpful. It's a tool that that sorts publications according to their contributions to different SDGs. It's used by Elsevier, for example, or it uses different sorting mechanisms, for example, the one used by Elsevier, and it gives more detail on the kind of sustainability contribution that a publication makes. So maybe that might be interesting. Thank you, and good luck with your further research.
Yes, thank you. And I want to reinforce the second one. So the method you use searching for sustainability in the words seems to me very simple, maybe effective, but there is a whole literature and practice on mapping sustainability topics, for example, using the CWTS defined research fields or these kind of things to SDGs, which might give a better delineation. I don't know whether you want to comment on that, Chiara.
First, thank you for your observations. First, for the green patents, I use the applicants. Yes, so the university is the applicant for the patents. Thank you for the suggestion about publications. We know that this is a little bit general, and I saw also that we use the Scopus database, and we saw that in Scopus now there is the proper keywords for the SDGs, and we think about to reply this study just for the research area and maybe use a more detailed matrix. But I think that it is useful also for this research to use something more specific and more precise. So thank you. And thank you also for the link.
I see also a comment by Michael Hölscher, which I would strongly support. Why you use ratio for assessing the size of universities. Would not be absolute numbers fit much better, and I agree that you would need in your model at least one size measure because all rankings are size dependent. So using only ratios may be weak, but maybe there is a reason why you did this.
Yeah, mainly because we want to use the variables regarding the ratio. We want to use the variable regarding the amount of tuition fees. But if we add also a variable, for example, regarding the number of students, which is the variable in general used for the size, there are a lot of these variables are collinear between, there is a collinearity. So we think to use the size and the number of the amount of tuition fees.
Okay, which to me it's a bit a strange choice, but you will need to motivate it.
Okay.
Because
So,
I would use the total budget or the total personnel or the total students. Anyway, they are so highly correlated because tuition fees depends, for example, between private and public vary a lot. But
yeah, because we want also to check for the dependence of the university to the market. And so we decide to put the tuition fees, but maybe we can adjust and use total budget and this maybe fits better.
okay, thank you. I see Elena.
Thank you, Benedetto, and thank you, Chiara, very much for this very interesting presentation. I haven't read the paper, but I would like to. So thank you for sharing that. And so my question / comment is more of a conceptual nature, because you said throughout the presentation, and I also read it in the abstract, that you are interested into looking into the relationship between sustainability ranking on the one hand and sustainability performance on the other. So I was wondering whether you also see rankings as a kind of a performance, because in a way, when you say that you're interested in measuring performance as such, in the case of sustainability, that to me hints that you are seeing sustainability performance as some kind of a thing out there as an objective measure that needs to be captured in a certain way. What I would argue, and I would think that the rankings are also kind of a performance, and there are also many ways that we can measure performance and capture it. So rankings could be one of them, ratings could be another measure. Different kinds of rankings are measuring performance in different kinds of ways. So to me, these are all different ways of measuring performance. And then the question would be, what do these different measures mean in a particular context, such as the case of Italian University? So I would like to hear your thoughts about these possible conceptual distinctions between kinds of performances that can be measured with ratings, rankings, different kind of data available, and so forth. Thank you.
Chiara.
So thank you. And I agree with the fact that rankings are a type of performance measure. In this research, we think that rankings are certainly a type of performance measure, but this measure is very aggregate. And in rankings, there are a lot of different performance, which is the idea, because rankings are so used, because they are able to simplify all these performance in just one measure. But we found also that this is too simply for the type of performance included. So we aim to divide rankings in different performance, and we aim to see how rankings impact this performance. I don't know if I explain our idea.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Next question. So Chiara, could you post also the draft paper if possible?
I have to check, I think, with my co-authors if it is okay, because they are considering the paper for the publication. So I think that first I have to check. Maybe I could send it to you and or to you, Georg, and it could send after to
Yes,
you.
yes,
Okay.
we can do it. Any other questions? If not, I think we had a very interesting conversation. We know the literature on general research rankings. Now, these more specialized rankings raise new questions, and some are the same as the general rankings, some are different. Also in terms of internal working within the institution, because these are different offices, different actors within the university, different societal actors looking to the rankings. So the mechanism may be partially different. So that's an interesting area which is rapidly expanding. So if there are no further questions, I would like to thank really Chiara for your presentation and wish you all the best for advancing the work in this area and for the publication of the paper. And I would like to tell you that we will have a next